The 29th Summit of the African Union is being hosted by Ethiopia in its capital, Addis Ababa, from the 27th of June to the 4th of July. The theme for the summit is harnessing the demographic dividends through investments in youth. That should come as no surprise because the continent is blessed with an abundance of youthful talent just waiting to be tapped. We will be exploring this theme on the program tonight. Now, also on the program tonight, Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs has made a historic visit to Tunisia. We'll bring you the details. I am Segun Ojumu, and this is Hindsight. Segun Ojumu. On this program, we'll be bringing you news, views, and exclusive interviews with
security that cut across humanitarian aid.
It becomes easier to do business in Nigeria. Now,
Nigeria.
200 million. That is the number of youth some analysts say Africa has. It represents the youngest population in the world. Now, all the more reason, I should say, great attention should be paid to them. The African Union seems to be alive to this. It has therefore chosen the youth as a centerpiece of this year's African Union Summit. It is hoped that when the summit ends, African leaders will further commit themselves to a roadmap on harnessing the demographic dividends through investment in the continent's young people. A presentation and a presidential debate of more than 2 hours will be held by the president of Chad, Idris Deby, and of course that will happen during the course of the summit. Member countries have agreed that such a roadmap should be domesticated and implemented by each member state. A couple of countries have in fact already done a national launch. The roadmap has the following pillars. 1. Employment and entrepreneurship. 2. Education and skill development. 3. Health and well-being. 4. Governance and youth empowerment. So, what other issues are on the agenda at the summit? I can tell you that peace and security is one. Africa has continued to grapple with conflicts in South Sudan, Central African Republic, Somalia, the DRC, and Mali. The chairperson of the AU Commission will provide a report on the state of peace and security in Africa with recommendations for the Assembly. Those countries I just mentioned, will be part of that report. Other emerging threats such as cybercrime and trending threats like maritime security, piracy, terrorism, fundamentalism, and religious extremism will also come to the fore. Another matter on the agenda is Agenda 2063. A progress report on the implementation of the Agenda 2063 will be presented at the summit. Now joining me to discuss this subject and other things related to it is a former president of the National Youth Council of Nigeria. He's also the Chief Executive Officer of ELB Academy. His name is WALE AJANI. Welcome, sir.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. It's good to see you again. All right. Let me begin by asking you how significant this theme is for the AU. Why do you think you chose this theme?
Well, it's very, very significant because, and this is not the first time AU has been doing this. Mm-hmm. One thing I'm aware of is that AU has paid so much attention to youth development. Okay. And they have been doing that to make sure that member states also do the same, so that young people in Africa can develop as the continent is also developing. And we believe that what Africa as a continent has most is young people. Yes. And the only way we could develop Africa is to develop young people. And from your background speech, you can also see where they're talking about education, entrepreneurship, skills development. I mean, young people are a resource. Yes. And enough of using them for wars, enough of using them for violence. But rather, African Union believe that, and they have done a lot, they have invested a lot in young people. Some of us, when we are within that age range of youth, which is 18 to 35, we were given opportunities to even serve at the regional level, to work with the African Union Commission, to develop strategic papers and initiative for other young people in Africa. And I believe that doing it again in 2017, it's good for the continent. In 2011, we had the same focus on young people. Then Nigeria was even the president of the Pan-African Youth Union.
Okay.
And I was there with the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, on that at that summit, and it was focusing on young people. So I believe that coming again to do it after that's 2011, 2017, that means something is still wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just preempted my next question there. But between 2011 and 2017, has anything really changed as far as the youth are concerned?
Well, I would say it has changed, because the only thing is that the significance is not saying like that.
Right.
And you have to look at it from which context. Is it from the regional context or from Nigeria, I mean from our nation? From 2011 till date, I think unemployment is increasing in our nation. The people are not given the necessary skills to be able to also become sustainable as young people. So, but I believe that it's not that bad, but it can be improved on. And I think that's what the African Union Head of Government Summit is actually, what they know, that it is very pertinent for them to look into it and actually discuss it, so that member states can take it further from where it is now to maybe to another level.
Let's attempt to diagnose the problem now. Africa has what? Over 200 million youths, as some analysts say.
Yes.
But what has been responsible for them failing to measure up to their counterparts, you know, in other parts of the world, in America, in Asia, in India even?
Yeah.
You know, what has been responsible for that?
I think number one thing is that most African young people lack the skills.
Okay.
And you can't get good skills if there are no good education. Because in education, we have the vocational education. I mean, our leaders, again, we have not been blessed in Africa with good leaders. Because most of our leaders in Africa, they come to office, they don't even know why they are there. They just found themselves there, probably through one way or the other. And this thing called democracy, as good as it has been, sometimes it has not really helped Africans, because the people that actually have the resources in Africa to run for office, they are not the best people to get there. Look at what happened in France. I mean, the guy does not really have the money, but yet he emerged as a candidate because...
With a new party.
With a new party. Such thing cannot happen. If you register a new party here, they will tell you, this party will not fly until some particular... So I think we have problem with leadership in Africa. And if we come home to Nigeria as a nation, we young people are not given opportunities to be able to exhibit some of the leadership qualities that they have. And maybe also the ones that were given opportunity, they are not the right set of people. So the little ones that are also given opportunity, they are not actually doing what they're supposed to do in terms of... So the one challenge is skills need to be given to young people, and this through proper education.
And of course, that's part of the skills development, is part of the pillars of the roadmap that the AU has. But let's narrow it down to Nigeria now. You know, unemployment, you mentioned it, it remains a big problem, and part of the problem is that a lot of young people today some would say are unemployable. But okay, fine, let's say they are unemployable. What about, like you said, vocational training, skills acquisition? You know, recently the federal government launched this this graduate and youth empowerment scheme. NPower, yes. Now, what do you make of that? Do you think this NPower program is capable of solving this problem we're talking about?
I can tell you categorically that the same way Shopee has not solved any problem, NPower will not solve any problem. I mean, we need to be realistic. Most of these programs are politically motivated programs. the content of the programs are not sustainable. And that's why you see what happened in the last government. Previous government did NAPEP. Where are they today? I mean, the last government also did SURE-P. Where are they today? The only one that should have been sustainable is the UN program, which I think also this government is
continuing with.
But the hand power thing is more of a political thing, although it's open to everybody. But the background, you know, because when you are doing a program, you have to check what's the background of the program. What do you intend to achieve with it? Are they sustainable? Because if you don't give people skill, whether it's, I mean, vocational or the life skills, there's no how they can be sustainable either at a job or when they are creating their own businesses. So as a nation, I think we really need to understand how we bring out programs and what do we intend, what are the deliverables of those programs. As of today, the government is not coordinated, because what Empower is doing is the same thing what SURE-P was doing. To me, I see it as more of dashing out money to people, because peradventure tomorrow, if this government go beyond 2019, another government will come again and give us another Z-Power or Zensure or what have you. They
but
call
isn't this scheme supposed to give people, young people that so desire, relevant skills that will take them, out there to the world and become useful to themselves?
Exactly. That's. I mean, that's on the paper, but maybe I should also ask you whether you have seen a place that Empower has actually, because some of us will follow up.
What did you see when the ones you've seen? What did you see?
Yeah, all I know is that they are posted to states. They were working in states. Some of them are in offices. Some of them have been absorbed by different
MDAs,
MDAs and so on. But we all know today, even in Nigeria, even those full-time staffs in the MDAs, which work are they doing? At least I know I have someone who works in one of the ministries, and she told me, I've just been employed for the past 1.5 years. I have not done anything, no training, and salary is going on. So it's still the same.
So it's more or less like food for the boys.
Exactly.
Girls.
So until we come up with a program that can really give skills to people, and irrespective of whether a government is there or not, that skill will be a lifelong thing for them. They can become sustainable. And that's what is happening in other parts of Africa. I know of Namibia. You have also mentioned India as a nation. They are not joking with skills development. And skills has nothing to do whether you have gone to the polytechnic or you have gone to the university or you are even in the college of education. Yeah. You must have skills for you to be able to,
and then of course
sustain yourself.
We'll be taking a short break now, but before we go, let me just get your thoughts, because if the youth are not, getting the requisite skills and then the requisite education, then how then can they be positioned for what is the fourth pillar of this roadmap, which is governance, and of course youth empowerment? How will that ever work? Because we want this people to be like, come out to vie for political positions, like we talked about Emmanuel Macron of France. Will that ever happen?
That's why we are having what we are experiencing now. The little ones, among the little number of young people that have been privileged to serve in position, you can see what is happening. It's more or less like they are directionless, or they are not focused, or what have you, because the right skills are not given to them. And you also see what happened, whether it's true or not, but you will know better. When they said NUC were saying that some courses were not to be, because there are some courses that you don't even need to study. Because when you study them, there's nothing you're going to do with them. Even those ones that are so much important that people are going to study today, you discover that you are doing nothing with them after graduating from school. So our system needs to work. It's not just to attend the summit. For me, because like I told you, we did that in 2011, which I was part of, but nothing has really changed. So going there is to just take to just sign up to a mandate that, oh, we are ready to give our young people and make them employable.
But
so
what
that,
happens after
because
that?
Nigeria is very critical to the African Union.
Yes.
And if anything happened in, and that's why when we wanted to have the 2015 general election, that's why the whole world
Was watching us.
was watching us. Because if anything happened in Nigeria, where are we going to? To Ghana, to Sierra Leone, to all, you understand? It's easier for something to happen in those countries and they will fall back to Nigeria. But when it happened in Nigeria, where are we going to take 170 million people to? So it's an issue that, to me, I believe we need to concentrate more on it, to give the right education. What we are having today, our educational system today, is more or less like the normal Sunday schools or Quranic school that people are just going to just to learn. It does not actually take one to the right place.
All right, Wale AJANI is the former president of the National Youth Council of Nigeria. Please stay with us. We're going to take a short break now, and then Hindsight continues. Stay with us. On this program, we'll be bringing you news, views, and exclusive interviews with
Security that cut across humanitarian aid to
it becomes easier to do business in Nigeria. Now,
Nigeria.
all right, welcome back. Now, Nigeria for many years has been infamous for its poor power supply. Power outages are frequent across the country. Successive governments have failed to solve the problem. The current administration says it is determined to end power cuts Nigerians have become all too familiar with. That is why it recently sent an oversight team to China. Members of the National Assembly were part of the team, and of course the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, or NASENI. Now, they were in China to put finishing touches to plans set in motion as far back as 2013. The National Assembly was in China to oversee what the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, NASENI, is doing in collaboration with China Great Wall Industry. And that's the China Great Wall Industry Corporation. This is in respect of 3 projects. 1, the transformer project. 2, the high voltage testing facility. And 3, the solar energy project. In this next video, we have the senator representing Ondo North Senatorial District, Professor Robert Barofis, speaking about the purpose of their visit, and after him is his House of Representatives colleague, Benny Law, and then finally the CEO of NASENI, Professor Sani Haruna. Take a listen.
It has been signed as far back as 2013. The problem is the implementation of the agreement. And you know there are many bodies that are involved. The National Assembly is involved in appropriating funds for this project. Ministry of Finance is involved. Ministry of Science and Technology is involved. National Planning is involved. So we all have to work together. Our own function as the National Assembly is to oversight this project and make sure that it's a project that is funded, and part of funding, we also make sure that we monitor the implementation.
I think I'm very happy with the terms and conditions that the Chinese government is providing. It's more of a partnership. The loan will last for 20-25 years, and it will be a very significant loan in the power sector, because this loan will go a long way towards providing, increasing the power and boosting the power sector in Nigeria. Nigeria will no longer have to import transformers. Nigeria will now produce transformers. As you know, we import about millions of transformers a year.
High voltage testing laboratory and solar cells manufacturer. If I'm to highlight further, I will explain that NASENI, through its Power Equipment and Electrical Machinery Development Institute, is producing pole-mounted transformers and other transformers manually. It is necessary for continuous research and for the availability of local input and component into the power sector that we need to manufacture transformers at home. The other component is high voltage testing laboratory. These key projects in the area of power, there can be no successful power industry in Nigeria without production of this component locally. Within the mandate of Naseni to intervene in the area of power, we have come out with these projects that is getting support from the government of China. The third project, as I say, solar cell manufacturing. Naseni currently produces solar panels, solar modules in Karshia, Abuja, but it is an assembly plant. It is therefore compulsory to use raw material that is locally available in Nigeria to produce the cells in order to increase local content.
Now, it's not only the federal government that has been in China to lately in an effort to solve problems back home. The government of Kaduna State, led by its governor Nasir El-Rufai, has also been in China. During his visit, he met with Chinese officials and signed MOUs in aviation, agriculture, and petrochemical refineries. Here is the governor, very quickly speaking about the purpose of his trip to China.
We signed a tripartite agreement between the government of Kaduna State and the province of Hebei, which is next to Beijing, and CCECC, one of the largest construction companies in China and very active in railway construction and roads construction in Nigeria. So we signed a sister province agreement with this province of Hebei because it's big in agriculture, and this is an area that we want to learn and use to get our people in Kaduna involved in agriculture employed. We also came as part of our delegation with businessmen from Kaduna. We came with 2 airlines that are active in Kaduna, Medview Airlines and Chanchangi Airlines, because we are looking at establishing a maintenance and repair organization in the Kaduna International Airport. We also discussed with aircraft manufacturers here in China to see whether our airlines, particularly those that are active in Kaduna, would get concessionary access to mid-range regional jets for use in the Nigerian aviation market. We are looking at developing Kaduna International Airport as a wet cargo airport, and we started talking to experts in this area to see how we can redesign the entire airport into a hub and add facilities that would make it successful.
And finally, before we close, Nigeria and Tunisia have expressed their collective desire for to further strengthen and expand cooperation with each other. Both countries also want to achieve this in fields such as the economy, even as they intensify high-level visits between both countries, between the officials of both countries. All this came when Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, became the highest-ranking official to visit Tunisia in 30 years. Now, let's bring you excerpts from that press conference he had with his Tunisian counterpart, even as we close the program. I am Shegun Ojumu. Mr. Ajani, let me say thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We're going to see you again next week.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
We face similar economic challenges, and therefore we have identified areas where we feel that the 2 countries can really achieve real concrete deliverables. Education, health, in the area of infrastructure development, ICT, information and communications, technologies, renewable energies. We even talked about the mutual assistance and training of our diplomats. Also looked at our joint roles at the sub-regional level, Tunisia has applied, and we support it very much, that application for an observer status of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. It'll be a win-win situation. Will increase the market access of Tunisia to the West African market, and give an opportunity also for West African countries to also benefit from those areas and sectors in which Tunisia has a real comparative advantage.
The threat of terror is an existential threat for Tunisia, Nigeria and other African states. It is clear that the only way we can overcome this is by working closely together. This is what we're planning to do by sharing intelligence and other means of cooperation between our intelligence and security services. We've discussed the situation in Libya. We've agreed to help our Libyan brothers to overcome their differences and to opt for a peaceful solution to the conflict in Libya.